We're back on the morning drive, brought to you by Valdosta Toyota, Earl Copeland's Garage, Gerard and Jewelers, and Southern Vein and Laser Center. 2411059 is our number on this Wednesday morning. Always glad to have in the studio with us our guest this morning, the superintendent of the Valdosta City School System, Dr. Bill Cason. Bill, how are you?
I'm great, sir.
Good to see you as always. And
Thanks.
still everything doing well with the city schools. We're now, I guess we're a month into it now.
Yes, we are, and things are really going well across the board. Couldn't ask for better.
Yeah, I know we were talking. My son, who said, we've already completed the first 4 weeks. We only have 8 more to go, and I guess when you're a kid, you start counting them down that way.
Yeah.
So, but first of all, we want to talk about the news that we talked about yesterday, and that's the fact that you will be retiring at the end of this school year. Unfortunately, not of your own volition, although you may have chosen to do that, but I would rather it be your call than someone else's. But explain exactly. There was a House bill that was introduced and passed, and that's the reason behind all this. Can you provide some clarity to exactly how this whole thing went?
There was a House bill that was passed several years ago that allowed persons like myself who had already retired in the state of Georgia to come back and work full time. And I chose to do that. That House bill was to sunset in, I think, 2016.
Is that
yeah,
right?
in 2016. The legislature this year moved that sunset up to the end of this year, which means that not only I, but a lot of people will be affected by this. We have several teachers that will have to retire because of this change in the law. And who knows, I might have retired at the end of this year. I'd really plan to work at least one more after this one, because I'm still healthy and energetic enough to do it, I think. And I enjoy my work. It's one of the most rewarding things that anybody can do. And that's the part of it's going to be the toughest for me, walking away from the kids and teachers. I wish it hadn't happened. It has happened, and as I do with everything else in my life, I'll make something positive out of it.
There you go. And by the way, you're not the. You mentioned some other teachers. This is not that uncommon of a practice for someone to retire from one school system and go to work in another one. So
that's correct.
But was it a money deal, and is that the reason they?
It is a money deal because those of us who did this don't contribute anymore. They won't allow us to contribute to the Georgia teacher retirement system, which impacts their revenue coming in.
I see.
Because they could fill my job with a person with less than 30 years and have the income from that person going into the retirement system. So I understand it from a physical standpoint, money standpoint, and I respect that, but at the same time, I would rather not have been impacted by it.
It seems like it's always a money deal coming out of Atlanta.
Always a money deal.
Well, first of all, we're glad that you'll be here for one more year, and of course, I know the board is already working on what type of plans they'll make to have someone to succeed you, and hopefully do that before you leave, so there could be a smooth transition.
I think that's their plans. I haven't talked with them in great detail about it, but I do know that they're in the process of deciding on a firm to come in and do a superintendent search. There are only 2 in the state of Georgia that do that, the Georgia School Board Association and a small business that Frank King runs that does a similar thing.
Gotcha.
And both of them do a great job, so we'll end up with the right person.
That's right. And but it is, I think, good to have that person in before you leave. We saw that across town with Wes Taylor taking over for Steve Smith, and that seemed to be a pretty smooth transition. So
you really need that transition for several reasons, but the most important of which is we need a person to come in and learn what we're doing, especially on the instructional side of things. There's so much going on now with instruction in the state of Georgia, and with us in particular, we're way ahead of the state as far as doing doing the things that's got to be done, the things that are demanded by Race to the Top, Common Core curriculum, and all of those kind of things. So it would be unfair to this person coming in not to have some time with that person to make sure they understand the direction we're going. And it is a very positive direction, and I want to see that continue.
Absolutely. Dr. Bill Cason, the superintendent of the Valdosta City Schools, joining us this morning. You and Steve Smith can just go fishing now.
I guess so. He has a boat, and I have a boat, so we'll just argue over which boat.
You both got us through consolidation, so that's a good thing. So, we do want to talk about, as we're now a month into the school system, Bill, where there are always, you mentioned about mandates coming down from the state, and that's something that every school system has to go through, and every teacher is impacted by at the classroom level, and that's what I call the front lines, because that's where these edicts that come down are really put into place by our teachers, and that's a very tough job on those folks. Probably, and well, let me ask you: is it more so for one grade level, or upper level, or lower level, or is it kind of across the board?
No, it's across the board, and at all faculty meetings that I've attended so far this school term, one of the statements I've made to teachers is this will be the most difficult year you'll ever have as a teacher.
Wow.
Because of all the additional work that's required, and they're already experiencing that, and they know it. And what that means to me is that we have to find ways to support those teachers and make them feel good, or help them to feel good about what they're doing. When you look at the change of curriculum, going to Common Core, being a Race to the Top district, all of those things impact our teachers. There's a thing called student learning objectives, or as our Scarlett Correll would call it, SLOs. She uses those little initials for everything. But that alone has been a huge impediment the first few weeks of school, because they have to be scored and those kind of things, and it's just a huge workload this year beyond what they have to do in the classroom. And there's no doubt, with my experience, I recognize that this is the most difficult thing these teachers are going to have to do ever in their career. I can't say ever, I suppose, but this will be extremely difficult for them as they work through the year. It's going to require more work, longer hours, and they're already worked pretty hard. So,
and we all recognize the need for standardized testing and for tracking progress and things like that. But at some point, is there a tipping point where you get too much of that and it takes away from daily instructional, learning?
It's already doing that. We're seeing that already, and we've talked openly about it. We don't try to hide it, because it would be the wrong thing to do. It's taken away, especially dealing with these student learning objectives, taking away time that teacher should be in front of a class, working with the students. And we're doing our best to cover it where we won't be impacted too badly. But and as we go throughout the year, the same thing will continue to happen. But we hope not nearly as much as the first few weeks have been. So it is a huge change.
Do you think it's needed?
It's a two-edged sword. If we're going to be a member of the other 47 states who have adopted Common Core curriculum, yes, it's needed. And that brings me to the point that we're proactive. We're so far ahead of almost every school district in the state of Georgia in initiating these plans. And the reason for that, I, as superintendent, recognize that this is not going to go away. When you have 48 states on board and the federal government pushing it, state government pushing it, it's not one of those fly-by-night things that's going to go away. It would take them a while to tear down what they've already done. So,
that's right.
So we might as well be ready, continue. And one of the things that I'm so proud of, and I mentioned this at the past board meeting, is that when I first came on board, we were the school district that were calling other districts for help. And now it's exactly the other way around. Districts across the state and the nation are calling us for advice, help, and that tells me
doing something right.
Doing something right. But not only that, I have an exceptional staff. That helps put all this together.
You know, I've talked, again, we're joined this morning by Dr. Bill Cason, the superintendent for the Valdosta City School System, and I've talked to so many teachers who have been in the profession for quite a while, and some are thinking of at least eyeing retirement, or maybe this year, next year, whenever it is, and they commonly say, you know, we still love the kids. That still energizes us. I know I've heard you say that before. That's why you get out and walk the halls in different schools, but it's this, you know, these new mandates and these new things that are put on us that really just drive us crazy and have us thinking about, okay, I've you know, had enough of this. And I know it's not like it was in years past, and you just described the reason why it is as it is now. And it's, you know, we talk about that a lot, and that's why I think it's even more important that parents get involved with it, to ask these teachers, hey, how can I help? How can I take some of this burden off of you? How can I do whatever we can to get involved to help the learning process with our kids? So.
Yeah, we will just have to bite the bullet and continue and do the very best we can, and that's what our teachers will do. They're that good, so we feel good about it.
Absolutely. Other things going on in the school system, I know we have still got some facilities going on, some work on that's happening still.
We do. We're beginning construction on the new Southeast, and it's going to be a beautiful school. This past week, the two school boards, Lowndes County Board and my board, signed a joint resolution concerning the charter school initiative. Of course, voting against it, or asking people to vote against it, and those joint resolutions will be sent out to numerous people across the state in leadership positions who could impact this vote that's coming up.
I've been surprised by the push for this, Dr. Cason, I have to tell you, because I've heard, you know, and again, as I've tried to point out, it's not about the issue of are charter schools good or bad. The vote is about who should have control over it.
Absolutely.
And that's why I think people need to know that before, and we're going to get the exact language of the question that's going to be asked before people go to the polls so they know what they're voting on. Why do you think there's been such a push from the governor's office on down to a lot of other folks at the state level to try to push this through?
The only thing that I can figure out about this is that they firmly believe that charter schools, if run by private organizations, would be better. I, of course, being a public school advocate, I don't believe that at all. I think when you have kids and you have teachers, you have the same set of problems, you have the same set of goals, you have the same set of problems, everything. So it's not so much whether it's a charter school or not. I'm not against charter schools, but I am against charter schools that aren't controlled by local school boards.
Right.
We don't want a high-handed commission sitting in Atlanta making decisions for us in the deepest part of South Georgia.
One size doesn't fit all.
No, it doesn't. And I'm afraid for the really small school districts that will be impacted by this. That it's going to be even more difficult for those small districts to compete.
Sure. And that's been my mindset behind it is, you know, we've been strapped by cash, and your school system, like every other school system in the state of Georgia, has had money that was, you know, promised to it and then taken back, and you got to rework your budget and make it everything work. And now we're going to take a bigger piece of that pie and put it towards trying to fund charter schools, and that's just going to cause, you know, and tell me if I'm wrong, but the more chances of furlough days for teachers, the more chances of things not being funded. And if you're trying to help enhance education, then you're going to be hurting education.
If you add more ways to split the the amount of money that the state brings in for education, of course, that's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. I don't think anybody knows at this point, because I don't think enough time has been put into the study of this whole thing.
Yeah.
And with us, it would be a huge impact, because our funding would be cut again. You know, you know the story about the furlough days and shortened school year and those kind of things, and we're in good shape in Valdosta and Lowndes County. But once again, there are districts across this state that are furloughing 20 days.
Yeah.
And expected still to get the same job done with those kids and bring them up to where they need to be, and that's impossible.
Yeah.
So.
And we've seen there are school systems right here in our area that have gone to 160-day school years, longer school days, extending the school day by 15 minutes, half hour, whatever it is, and trying to get to cut down the cost of being there so many days, and cutting down and having more teacher furlough days. And I mean, they're doing anything they can and trying to be as creative as they can to make it all work financially, but it's a tough thing to do.
And what they haven't really looked at is the impact on student learning with that, because if you extend the school day for 15 minutes, 30 minutes for elementary kids, they're already in school for much longer than they have been in years past.
Yeah.
And kids get tired, teachers get tired.
Sure.
And so the learning is just not there like it should be.
We had a caller earlier this morning, Bill. Again, we're joined by Dr. Bill Cason from the Valdosta City School System. We had a caller earlier this morning. They said, I'm a teacher. They didn't say where they were a teacher. But they said, if we're going to have furlough days, then I think everybody who works in state government should have furlough days.
Oh,
that wasn't you disguising your voice, was it?
No, but it could have been, because I have some strong feelings about that.
Yeah.
There are ways that suspend the legislature for a few days, take away that pot of money.
Yeah, there are lots of ways. Education always seems to get the first hit, though. So.
Well, they claim that and it's true in a sense. They claim that education gets the biggest part of the state funding, but we're also the largest employer.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
Yeah.
But what they don't tell you is what all is included in that pot of money they count as going towards education.
Yeah.
So when you really dig down and find out the facts, things just aren't right. So.
As always, yes, it's tough, but like you said, you got a good staff, and they keep the good work going, and so they'll continue to do that no matter what rules are applied to them. They'll figure out a way to help these kids learn. And again, there's so many teachers, it's definitely the majority, if not all of them, who over the years are going to come out of their own pocketbook to do this or buy this for their students, and you just see that time and time again. So. If you have any questions about if you have a child in the city school system, or just questions about how it works, I urge you to check out the website, gocats.org. It's a very easy to use website. You can go check it out there, or you can contact Dr. Cason or any member of his staff. 333-8500 is the number to the school board office. They'll be glad to listen to your concern and answer your questions. But I always urge people, start with your school first. If you have a child in one of the schools, start with your teacher, then the principal, and go through that route, because that's the folks that have the hands-on answers to what you're looking for most of the time. But obviously they don't mind taking calls at the school board office as well. And check out that website. Lots of good stuff on there. Bill, good to see you. You're gonna keep? I mean, just because you're a short timer now, you're not gonna keep coming by and see us, are you?
No, I told the school board, and I tell everybody I've talked to, my day won't slow down. I'll continue to work. I'll do all the things that I need to do because I owe that to the kids and to the teachers, and I'll continue to do this show as long as you'll have me.
We welcome you back anytime, my man. And we also want to send out our best to Jennifer Steedley, who usually joins us here, but she's feeling ill this morning. So Jennifer, get better soon, and we'll see you next time around. So.
Jennifer did ask me to come by and shoot her on my way back to work. So.
She's feeling that poorly?
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, don't do that.
No, I don't think I'll make that trip by.
Bill, good to see you this morning. Thanks so much.
You.
We'll take a break and come right back. More of the Morning Drive. Come here right after this on News Talk 105.9. This is WVGA.